Powertrax presents the most powerful sport on earth, the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series.
Turning the power on, rolling on down, turning the power on.
Powertrax is brought to you by the heartbeat of America, today's Chevy truck.
See the lightning, hear the thunder roll.
Hello, everybody. I'm Richard Leek, along with Armstrong and the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series in Stafford, Connecticut, for not one, but 2 days of competition with the two-wheel drive vehicles.
Richard, the two-wheel supers came north, and boy, were they surprised. The track conditions are not what they usually like to go in. They actually had to shorten the track by 30 feet. Normally go 300 feet. This weekend, 270, so they had to make a gear change. And the consistency of the track, it's almost like Florida sand. It's very sandy up here. They expected clay, so there'll be a lot of adjustment going on between one show and the next show. Same track, same distance, just 24 hours between each other.
And one thing we're going to do today is show you how modern technology comes into the pulling circuit.
We have one of the pullers, Kenny Lamont, with plain old Chevrolet. He is running one of the new computers. We're going to be watching him throughout the event to see how he does adjust.
Well, the top 3 national point leaders are here. We'll be back in Stafford in just a moment. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Stafford, Connecticut. I'm Richard Leek. I'm going to be up in the press box. Armstrong's going to be on the track. The sun's starting to set beautifully behind the Stafford Motor Speedway. We've got a nice capacity crowd on hand for this Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series two-wheel drive competition. Actually, a 2-day event. Tonight will be day number 1 for these two-wheel drive vehicles. Track conditions not very good, Army.
You know, the drivers were very surprised, Richard, when they came in. Up north, they expected to find a lot of clay. They did not find it. It's more like a sandy track you're going to find in northern Florida. Speaking of Florida, Chris Holdorf with the Florida Cracker draws the all-important #1 position, and everybody will be watching the amount of tire spin he's going to get and the amount of ground speed. And, Richard, you can tell right now the ground speed is not in the track this evening.
No, as a matter of fact, Chris going very slowly down this loose clay track in the Florida Cracker Ford. Of course, Chris Holdorf is a big Ford fan. As a matter of fact, don't mention Chevrolet around Chris. Not a great pull. Distance 236.46 feet. That probably will not win the competition tonight. Let's go down to Army with Chris now.
Chris Holdorf draws the #1 spot, goes 236 feet on the shot. Chris, the big question tonight is the track. You had the first shot at it. What are we thinking? Is it going to come around or go away from everybody?
We're thinking it's going to go away. There's just nothing there to make the dirt stick together, so it's going to get terrible.
Okay, now you have 2 vehicles here this evening. Where's your other drawing order?
It's about 4th, so maybe I'll get a decent... You're going to get 3 rides down the track, and then it's going to be gone for us. The tractors will be able to tear it up, but we're in trouble.
So Holdorf saying he's going to hang on to that first shot, hope it'll take on for a win for him.
Well, from the Florida Cracker, let's move to a Georgia Peach now. Actually, it's the Bad Dog out of Warrington, Georgia. That is Mike Stowe. He's a dandy, too. He is currently 2nd in the national point standings, and he is off and running. Distance to beat 236.46 feet. Wait a minute. The Bad Dog is shut down just prior to the 75-foot mark, which is legal. Let's go to Army.
Mike Stowe in Warrington, Georgia, realizing the track's going away on him. He decided to move his weight. There's a foul line. It's called a 75-foot mark. You notice the rear of the truck is not past the mark, so just by the skin of his teeth, he stays alive. He's moving about 150 pounds off the nose of the truck and going all the way to the back of it. The track doesn't look like it's going to hold up. Mike Stowe moving the weight. How much weight are you putting on the rear, Mike?
All I've got, Army, I ain't got the 75 more to move. I'm moving it. Don't move the sled over and see what'll happen.
Well, big Mike Stowe out of Warrington, Georgia. A crafty move, Army, because he is using the Redman TNT rules to his advantage right now.
Yeah, he picks up on the 75-foot rule. They're putting the track back together. He noticed as soon as he left the starting line, when he dialed the horsepower in on that big Ford engine, it was just not going to hold. The track is just not there for him. He's also moving weight of the sled. The sled goes all the way to the left side of the track, so he's moved 75 pounds on the vehicle itself, plus moving the sled over, going to push the cushion, we call it, on the left side. By mid-track, we'll be able to tell if it's going to work for him. A little bit of a slow start, but he might start to pick up some ground speed in the 6,200-pound Super.
The Bad Dog Ford of Mike Stowe is rolling down the track right now. You can see how fast those rear wheels are digging into this loose clay surface at Stafford Motor Speedway, but it looks like a good pull for Mike.
I believe we might have a new leader, Richard.
245.06 inches. Mike Stowe does take over the lead from the Florida Cracker. So obviously Mike's decision to rehook, and redo the pull was to his advantage. Let's go trackside. Army's got him right now.
Mike Stowe out of Warrington, Georgia. We saw him a moment ago thrashing, trying to move the weight on the back of the vehicle, but also you did something else. You completely went to the opposite side of the track, Mike.
Yeah, Army, I wanted to be over there to start with, and when Chris had trouble and couldn't start, they said I'd be number one, so I said I want to sled over here, and then Chris got fixed, and it kind of took my spot. I wanted to be first after he dropped, but I couldn't start, so I just had to try it over there and see if it was any better, and then I decided we'd move the weight and move it back over, and I don't know, maybe I did right. I hope so.
I'll tell you what, you did 245. That puts you number one. Do you think you're going to be able to stay there?
Well, I don't know. It just depends on how the old track does. You know, it could go round, it could get worse, or it could get better. We just have to wait and see.
Well, the old track doing pretty well right now for Mike Stowe. He's your current leader, but here's Shorty LeClaire out of Melrose, New York. He is driving the chemical reaction machine. He's off and rolling.
Now, Shorty has an advantage here, Richard. Even though he's not a supercharged vehicle, he gives away about 500 horsepower there. He's familiar with the track surface. However, he himself is not able to get the ground speed he needs. I don't believe this is going to be the run that Shorty was looking for.
Shorty LeClaire, a great-looking vehicle, but it does not look like it's going to be a great pulling distance. He shuts her down after a pull distance of 209.05 feet for Shorty LeClaire. Not enough to win tonight. You know, we told you earlier, we've got your top three national points leaders here for competition. There's your current national point leader. It is Wayne Roush, and he's got that little yellow truck that's going to be running this evening.
Roush adjusting the weight. He comes up later in the field. Holdorf looks to be the next man in line for his second shot.
He is. Chris Holdorf is coming back out of Winter Park, Florida. This is Florida Cracker 2, and believe it or not, to look at it, you wouldn't recognize it, but this is a Ford Taurus station wagon.
We told you the story earlier about Holdorf. He's a 100% Ford man. 600-plus cubic inch Ford engine, likes to lean on it. He has one cylinder, Richard. From our viewpoint, looks like it's not firing. He's not getting the horsepower to the ground once again.
The body of the Ford Taurus giving a shake, and now it's finally about ready to shut down. A pull distance, only 186.35 feet. Chris Holdorf, neither of his pulls very good. That's going to knock him out. You know, earlier today, Army Armstrong spent some time with Kenny Lamont, driver of the Midnight Express, to explain how computers work in this sport.
Ken, computers are relatively new to motorsports, but explain a little bit what you get out of your computer, what you're looking for.
Well, on my computer, I'm monitoring both rear wheels. That seems to be very important in this class, to see if one wheel's turning faster than the other one. I also monitor the drive shaft coming out of the bell housing versus the engine RPM, the RPM of both, and it tells me what the clutch is doing, whether it's slipping or when it's locking up or whatever. And I also monitor the boost pressure of the engine, and I monitor each cylinder temperature through the exhaust pipe. So I can tell if I've got a fat cylinder or a rich cylinder or a real lean cylinder. And it helps you monitor the motor. If you have got something going away, it'll let you know exactly where it's at. But probably the most important thing on here is monitoring both rear wheels.
This weekend's kind of unique on the tour. We're going to have an opportunity to see Lamont with the Choo Choo Custom Special pull two events. We're going to go on Saturday evening and also Sunday. We're going to be following him and seeing exactly the information he's going to be pulling out of this computer to make adjustments for that second shot on Sunday afternoon.
Will the computer bring a win? We'll find out. Super modified two-wheel drive action from Stafford in a moment. Back as a beautiful sunset continues in Stafford, Connecticut. Coming to the line now, Kenny Lamont, Crossville, Illinois, Midnight Express. Let's see if the computer we spoke to him about is going to work on this pull.
Lamont rolls in the throttle on a plain old Midnight Express, but immediately, Richard, he made a mistake. He missed the weight on the vehicle. The computer, I'll guarantee, is going to redline now.
Well, as you can see, his front end skying high. The Midnight Express is going to shut down after a pull of only 203.55 feet. Let's go to Army.
Putting the horsepower to the ground tonight seems to be the big problem. Now, last year's summer champion, Jim Lyons, in the Stitches GMC is coming out next. He's kind of the old pro on the circuit. All the guys are going to be watching him. Right now, they're trying to figure out where to put the weight in order to plant the horsepower. Lyons is going to come out and see if he's figured it out.
Well, defending points champion Jim Lyons out of Louisville, Kentucky in Stitches. If anyone can set the weight right, this is the guy that could do it, Army.
Lyons very determined, works the left side of the track, easy on the throttle. Now he dials a horsepower in. The front end is not coming up. He looks like he's hit the weight close, but the ground speed's going to come back to haunt him again, Richard.
Once again, ground speed because we've got a loose track, a loose clay track here in Stafford. Pull distance 205.06 feet. For Jim Lyons, your defending Redman TNT National Champion. And talking about national champions, as the crowd gives us a wave here in Stafford, Connecticut, this is a guy that could be the national champion this year. Currently the national points leader, it is Wayne Roush in his yellow Model T.
Once again, rolls the throttle. I'm watching the driver's faces, Sidney Richard. They are so determined. They're almost confused trying to figure it out. Now, Roush a little bit lighter on the nose. He has one cylinder that's not hitting all the way, but again, no ground speed. He's not going to get the run he wants.
Now, what is the smoke that was coming out of the one side there?
He had one cylinder that was not firing. He was just pumping raw alcohol in the engine and blowing it right back out. So that was basically a 7-cylinder run, Richard.
But as you well know from watching ESPN and the Redman TNT All-American Pulling Circuit, Wayne Roush has two vehicles that he runs in competition, the yellow Model T and the one that he's about to climb in now. That is the little red truck, and it's one to contend with.
He drew back-to-back numbers. The track is fresh in his mind. Let's see what he does different between this truck and the one he just ran. A moment ago, he came off the extreme left of the track, eased the horsepower in. We're going to watch and see what he does different here. Both of them are powered by the awesome Chrysler Hemi engines.
And, of course, the big tires on the back versus the small tires on the front. What's the advantage there?
Of course, the big tires are, Lamont was talking earlier about the wheel speed and everything. The specially designed CPEC racing tires have special cleats on them. Each driver kind of designs his own cleat. He's trying to go on the other side of the 245. Hope he's got the right combination. I don't believe it's there, Richard.
The ground speed does not appear to be there for Wayne Roush, your current national points leader. He could fall in the standings after this pull. He is starting to slow down. Now he shuts down after a pull of only 210.56 feet for Wayne Roush. And the super modified two-wheel drive competition over. 5th place goes to Shorty Leclerc. 4th to Wayne Roush. 3rd, Wayne comes back and takes it also in the little red truck. Chris Holdorf comes in 2nd. And the winner tonight, Mike Stowe, the Georgia Peach himself in the Bad Dog Machine, your winner in our day one competition in Stafford, Connecticut. And you know, no matter where these guys run across the country, these powerful engines have to have safety precautions built in. Army Armstrong was with Ken Lamont earlier today to explain some of the safety features.
We're going to point out some of the safety features in the super modified two-wheel drive category using Ken Lamont's vehicle as a model here. You notice the supercharger belt is surrounded by a piece of metal. In case the belt explodes, the metal is going to retain it. We're going to move back onto the supercharger itself, supercharger being this piece of equipment right here. You notice these straps, very similar to the same straps you and I put around our bodies as we drive up and down the highway. These meet certain specifications to retain the engine in case of an explosion. It'll actually hold the top of the engine on. Another safety feature, everything is double spring. The throttle linkage has a double return spring on it. In case anything should hang open, it'll automatically pull itself back. A scatter shield surrounds the clutches in this vehicle. In case of an explosion, the scatter shield meets certain specifications that will not actually let the exploding force get outside of the vehicle. Lamont sits in the roll cage. He's wearing a seat belt and cross strap to hold the driver in position in case of an upset. Now, you must remember, when this vehicle is pulling, there's a constant strain through the rear with the front end having a tendency to go up. So the driver must stay in a basically similar position on the finish line as when he started. Lamont wears a triple layer Nomex suit in case of a flash fire. These vehicles run alcohol for fuel. A flash fire can be very, very damaging to you. So the triple layer Nomex safety suit will knock down the fire for it. Additional safety features located at the rear. The electronic kill switch would automatically shut the vehicle off in case of a chain breakage. A neutral safety light that indicates when the vehicle is out of gear and it is safe to work around it. There are 2 pull hook points at the back of the vehicle. A main pull chain, a secondary chain. The reason for the secondary chain, in case you get a breakage in the main chain, the secondary is a safety figure. It will stop the vehicle. And last but not least, wheelie bars to keep the vehicle from flipping over backwards.
Well, here we are on a beautiful day number 2 of competition in Stafford, Connecticut. Last night, trouble with track conditions. The track very loose. We're going to check with Army Armstrong now to find out if day number 2 brings better track conditions.
Getting ready for part 2 of the Stafford Springs Pull and Redman Tour. The big question this afternoon, what's going to happen to the track? Last night, under less than ideal conditions, the drivers in the two-wheel drive super class had a terrible time moving the weight transfer sled. This afternoon, I don't believe the track's coming around that much. The drivers are really worried about it. The sled operator seems to think that the first couple of vehicles are going to have a better chance. The sun is the big problem. Plus the consistency of the soil here, not that good. Won't pack back, doesn't look like it's going to hold horsepower. We're going to have to wait and see.
Well, on a loose track last night, Mike Stowe, who is coming to the line now in his Bad Dog Ford, was the winner. Let's see if things have improved a little bit for him as he's off and rolling.
Last night, Richard, he ran out of the same groove. He worked the left side of the track. Much more ground speed today. For the number one puller, the track looks a whole lot better today. Stowe has a super run going.
Not only a super run, he has got a complete run, a full pull for Mike Stowe, the Bad Dog out of Warrington, Georgia.
You look like you're laying down some awesome horsepower out there. It looked like it was working for you. Well, it's a little better than it was last night. The question's going to be how quick moisture gets gone. We'll see in a little bit, you know. I don't know.
What you're saying is the later in the class, the worse the track's going to be.
Well, I think it is. If it doesn't, it's going to fool me.
Well, that could be bad news for Wayne Roush, your current national points leader, at the line now in his first vehicle, called the Little Red Truck, and he is off and running.
Roush starts to roll, working the same groove that Stowe did. We're going to check it out on the far end. Richard, we're coming back up to you.
Wayne Roush in the Little Red Truck getting a lot of ground speed. The dust flying on this clay track, but it looks like he is about ready to shut her down at about the 267-foot mark.
Track being the big question this afternoon. Rule of thumb, which you can look at in the pulling sport, the lighter the track, the drier it's going to be. The darker the track, the more moisture it has. The more moisture in this sport relates to more horsepower. Now, the track right now is dry on top, but the run's been made. They're starting to pull the moisture up from the bottom. As the class goes through, moisture's going to come up. They should hold horsepower. However, the drivers are saying it's not going to be that case on this track. The moisture's going to work against them. We're going to have to wait and see.
Back in Stafford, Connecticut, I'm Richard Leek, along with Army Armstrong. We are getting ready for the competition to continue. There you see Kenny Lamont's new Plano toolbox, Midnight Express. You know, Kenny uses a computer to help him race competitively each and every week. Has he learned anything from yesterday's competition through his computer?
Being the adverse conditions that they are, the main thing I looked at was the rear wheels to see if they were both turning the same, which they weren't. And a lot of that's because I was riding the brakes and trying to search for it. And also the computer, we looked at the clutch. If anything, I need to take clutch away from it and just keep it slipping so I don't put all the horsepower to the tires. So we're going to move a little weight and try a few things that the computer's told us, and hopefully we'll have better luck tonight.
Well, Ken Lamont, as you heard, is hoping for better luck from last night. The computer a big plus for him, and he's off and running.
Richard, the wheel speed looks good. The front end not coming up like he did last night. I believe he's a little wiser driver today. The front end stays down. The ground speed seems to be coming back to him. We're coming to you.
All right, the Midnight Express, new sponsorship for Ken Lamont, the Plano Toolbox Company. He gets a pulling distance much better than last night's, 257 point some odd feet. Ken Lamont with a better pull. And let's compare this pull to the one yesterday, and you can see how the computer helped him.
The weight completely wrong on the first event. It skied on him real bad. Lamont knows he's in trouble when he goes past the 75, but it's kind of like dumping off a diving board. You got to finish the run. Lamont does.
Well, Ken Lamont, a much better pull today from yesterday, and I'm sure he'll be the first to say it's his onboard computer that helped him. Meanwhile, here comes Shorty Leclerc. Back to run, day number 2, he's off and going.
Shorty had a real good run last night. He finished in the top 5. He's a local driver. He's familiar with the track surface. It looks like another decent run coming to him.
A much better run today for Shorty Leclerc, it looks like. He finally shuts it down, 239.85. Let's go to Army with your sled operator, Ron Hickson.
Ron, right now, from what you've seen, what's the track going to do this afternoon?
It's doing just what I told you it was going to do. It was a little dry on top, and the moisture's coming up now. And the first guy definitely had an advantage.
Well, let me ask you, usually the pullers like to pull late in the field when the moisture does come up. How come the moisture's going to hurt them up here and it doesn't hurt them, say, in the southern states on this type of clay?
Well, the sun usually dries it out, and it keeps it drier and drier. But here, it's the moisture's coming up and just working the opposite.
The man they're all trying to beat, the sled operator, Ron Hickson, says the track looks like it is going away.
Well, that could be good news or bad news for our next couple of pullers, because coming to the line here is Chris Halldorf. He is out of Florida. This is that Taurus wagon with, what is that on the, well, never mind about that, Army. Let's talk about the pull.
Florida Cracker Halldorf has the ground speed back. The question is, will he be able to put it on the other end? I don't believe so. A decent run, but I'm sure Halldorf will learn something for the later on shot in the other vehicle.
All right, a much better pull for Chris Halldorf this time around as opposed to what he did yesterday in that Ford Taurus wagon. And before this capacity crowd, who's our next puller? Chris comes right back to the line in another Ford. This time it's his Ford van. And you know, Chris is the type guy, he loves Ford so much that if you even walk up to him and want to talk about putting him in a Chevy, he may whack you upside the head, Army.
Now, I'll tell you, Holdorf is the Ford people all over the country really love him. People might wonder how he happens to pull back-to-back. In this sport, the luck of the draw determines the pulling order. He brought 2 vehicles, and by golly, they got to pull them back-to-back. They both come off the left side. Holdorf has learned a little bit. The ground speed, again, comes back in the daytime. Is looking good. Richard, what does it look like from your viewpoint?
Pretty good pull. I don't think he's going to go the distance, though. The Florida Cracker with the big gator on the side of that Ford van stops at 255.82 feet. Of course, the length of this track, the full pull, 270 feet. Jim Lyons, your defending national champion, is going to be coming to the line next. It's a beautiful Sunday afternoon here in Stafford, Connecticut. There you see Jim. He drives Stitches, and he's out of Louisville, Kentucky. He's a dandy one, Army.
Back in black out of the Bluegrass State with the #1 GMC in the country, Lyons. You can see the look on his face. He is very, very determined to lay down a good shot. Reaches in, puts it in gear, back to the sled. They spotted the sled right where he wants it. Lyons thinks he's figured out where he can put the horsepower to the ground. Another one of the pullers that relies on the Avilla motor oil and the reed cam combination, sponsored by a company out of the Kentucky, Tennessee area that manufactures high-dollar clothing wear. Lyons up in the points, would love nothing better than to put a strong shot. He does something different than the other pullers, Richard. He's working off the right side of the track.
All right, Jim Lyons is off and running in that GMC Stitches. He's got a lot of ground speed on the track right now. Army, it looks good from topside.
Lyons looking awfully good. The ground speed's back. The RPM's up. Lyons strong. Shot on the end, Richard.
Oh, he does not get a full pull, but he gets a nice distance, 259-plus feet. For the Stitches machine of Jim Lyons, not going to be enough to win now. And coming to the line, the final competitor, Wayne Roush. In the Model T, you see the determination on his face. He's off and rolling.
Roush rolls out, right hand on the still. Look at right open. He nailed the throttle at about the 100-foot mark. The ground speed's coming around. He's trying to come to the right side of the track. Rickard, we're coming back topside to you.
Wayne Roush, your current national points leader, close, but no bananas today. 263 feet, not going to be enough to win. Mike Stowe has won it. Second straight day in a row in Stafford, Connecticut. When we come back to this beautiful motor speedway with this great crowd, we'll give you the final top 5 in the super modified 2-wheel drive vehicles.
Be a part of the most powerful sport on earth with a TNT membership. Get 12 issues of Powertrax, the monthly pulling magazine, a Redman TNT pulling cap, a TNT Motorsports patch, Redman and TNT decals, plus a 10% discount card on all mail order purchases. Send check or money order for $24.95 to this address, or charge it to your Visa or MasterCard by calling 1-800-227-3167. Order now.
This is ESPN, the Total Sports Network.
Look for TNT Motorsports to bring a truck and a tractor pull or a monster truck race to your area in the near future. The Renegades TNT Monster Truck Challenge continues in the fall with more exciting side-by-side racing by the big trucks. The circuit visits the Nassau Coliseum, Long Island, New York, September 23rd through 25th. Spartan Stadium, San Jose, California, October 1st and 2nd. Freedom Hall, Louisville, Kentucky, October 7th and 8th. The Richmond Fairgrounds, Richmond, Virginia, October 16th. Garrett Coliseum, Montgomery, Alabama, November 11th and 12th. The Hoosierdome, Indianapolis, Indiana, November 19th, and also the new Charlotte Coliseum, Charlotte, North Carolina, on November 19th. The Redman TNT All-American Pulling Series continues on the campus of Purdue University in West Lafayette, Indiana, September 17th and 18th. The Avilla Speedway, Fort Wayne, Indiana, September 24th. The Omni, Atlanta, Georgia, September 30th through October 2nd. Freedom Hall in Louisville, Kentucky on October 7th and 8th. And the Hoosierdome, Indianapolis, Indiana, November 19th. Look for TNT and the most powerful sport on earth in your area. Well, this weekend in Stafford, Connecticut, it's been a Georgia weekend. Mike Stowe wins both days of competition. Here's Army with him now.
Big conversation and problems all weekend long in Stafford Springs, Connecticut is a track surface. However, kind of a unique situation happened. We ran 2 sessions, and the same man wins both of them. Now, Mike, what are you doing different than the rest of these fellas? Well, I just got lucky on the draw, but, you know, I mean, the day they made me work, they're pretty hard, and it wasn't that much different today. I didn't feel like it. Might have been a little advantage being first, but the rest of the guys were pretty close there. We were looking at the end of the track, and they were within 3 or 4 feet of you, and pulling late in the field, finishing that good. Well, living where I live, I run a lot in Florida, and you learn a lot from running in Florida because there ain't nothing down there but sand. This is real similar.
Well, as you see the top 5 coming on your screen now, it was definitely a bad dog weekend. The Georgia Peach Mike Stowe wins both days of competition. That'll do it from Stafford, Connecticut. I'm Richard Leek for Army Armstrong saying we'll see you on the tracks ahead.
Join us next time for Powertrax, the most powerful sport on earth. Brought to you by TNT Motorsports, the nation's leader in pulling and monster truck racing.
Turning the power on. Engine reeled up and it's raring to go. Gotta get it right, can't be too slow. See the lightning, hear the thunder roll.